Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Run in the Paint recap. Today is Wednesday, November 13th, coming off of the first night of NBA Cup action. I'm Miles here with Nick. Nick, how are you doing today?
Good, man. Trying to get my voice back a little bit, but I'm good. Happy to be here. Good to see you. And a couple upsets on our first day of Cup action. It was a really interesting night.
Yeah, interesting is definitely the right way to put it. There were some mixed results that we got here on Cup night, but yeah, excited to be back here doing the recaps. The last couple of weeks, super busy on my end, and then the podcast, like you and I both got sick and like lost our voices. It's that time of year. What can I say? It's definitely that time of year, but we're back. We're still fighting over it a little bit, but we had to return for NBA Cup action. And let's just get started right from the top with probably the biggest upset going into the night with the Atlanta Hawks going into Boston and defeating the Celtics without Trae Young, 117 to 116, a 1 point victory in Boston. And this really was a full team performance by Atlanta there. You see the triple double for Jalen Johnson. Dyson Daniels continues his surgence without, Trae Young there in the lineup. And just getting contributions across the board. And they were able to hold off, a very good Celtics team. This was definitely a shocker. What were some of your big takeaways from this game?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was definitely good for the Cavs being in the Group C of the East, getting the strongest team in their group, 0-1 off the rip. But yeah, it was a huge win for the Hawks on their lime green Celtics NBA court. I don't know. The NBA chose to air the blue Knicks court on TNT for the NBA opening night of national game, whatever. And then they went to the gray Warriors, and that was not my cup of tea. But yeah, the green wasn't too bad. Big night, like you said, for Dyson Daniels. He had 5 steals, and the thing for Boston, this one was their turnovers. 20 turnovers tonight.
Yeah, that was the difference in the game when you look at really everything. The turnover numbers is what really allowed the Hawks to get, in this game here. Because I mean, this was pretty close the whole way through. The Celtics kind of had a 6, 7, 8 point lead,
Well,
you
dude, it
know,
was 15 halfway through the third quarter. Boston was up 15.
yeah, and then gave it up there to the Hawks. Who again get 5 players with double doubles or double figure scoring in this game. Got to give a huge shout out to Larry Nance Jr. for
Yeah,
coming in
great
hitting
game.
5 for
Incredible.
6 from three. I mean, we forget here. I mean, he was on the Cavs for a while, us being Cavs fans. We got to see his development a little bit during the Cavs rebuild and going on to be a solid role player for some teams. If he's playing like this, knocking down threes at a solid clip, providing good versatility on the defensive end, he's going to be a nice asset, for a team going forward this season if the Hawks want to move on from him, or if they want to keep him there.
Well, it's
Um,
really funny because, Atlanta got Dyson Daniels and Larry Nance in that trade for DeJounte Murray, and New Orleans could really use those guys right now, being how injured they are. And those two guys basically just won them a game versus the defending champs.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and
It
specifically
is pretty, yeah, it's
Dyson
pretty
Daniels.
ironic.
You mentioned the steal numbers, him having a large amount this game. That is just what he's been doing over this last this 4 game stretch here. If my math is correct here, over his last 4 games now, he's gotten 23 steals, which is
Wow.
just a ridiculous number. That I'd like to see the history numbers on that. I don't know if anyone's gotten 23 steals over a 4 game stretch over the last few years. I mean, that's just an unbelievable number. But we saw the flashes there with him in New Orleans. New Orleans, one of the more talented rosters, I would always say it, in the NBA. They would just always get injured, as we're seeing now. But Dyson Daniels is one of those very talented players just because of his defensive versatility and ability to handle the ball. He's a very talented player and fits perfectly alongside a guy like, Trae Young, who's not playing in this game, but you see what he can do, on both ends of the floor.
Well, yeah, he's like an oversized two guard that plays both ends and can play make, and he's very athletic and explosive. I don't know what his 3-point numbers are, but I mean, in today's game, he's probably got to be pretty good from there too.
Let's see. On the season coming in, not the best 28%. That's his like main weakness
Kryptonite.
is the
Yeah.
shooting because his defense has been so good. But, you know, on the season, he's been their starting shooting guard, you know, the whole season with Trae Young being out the last few games, you know, coming in here. But, man, for the Hawks, what a weird start to the season, you know, record-wise. I believe now 5-7 on the season. And on their record, they've got a win now in Boston without Trae Young, when earlier this season they lost back-to-back to the Wizards, fully healthy. Like, the Hawks are always one of those teams, it feels like, where just the results just don't seem to make much sense. Playing out the same thing here. Yeah, they were just on a 2-game losing streak, losing games to Detroit and Chicago, now coming into Boston and getting a huge victory.
So do you think this result says more about Boston or Atlanta?
Honestly, I don't know if it says much about either team. Like this, I feel like for the Celtics, losses don't really mean a whole lot during the regular season. Like this does not change how any of us are going to view the Celtics going forward here. So I feel like for them, it's just kind of a wash. And especially of course, they play the Cavaliers next Tuesday in a game that everyone's got circled on their calendars with the hot start for the Cavs. You know, if the Celtics win that game, then they're fine. They're fine in the group, you know, because I doubt that. I mean, who knows? Maybe the Atlanta Hawks are now just going to come out of the group there. But that was just an incredible win and definitely the upset of the night, because I want to say they were like 13.5-point underdogs going into this game. So for them to come out with a victory, despite Jaylen Brown and Derek White combining for 68 points, is kind of incredible.
Yeah, most certainly.
Yeah, at the end of this game, it really came down to you know, the Celtics could not really able to get many stops, and the players for the Hawks just making plays. We had a corner 3 by Larry Nance Jr. off of a nice drive, and then an Onyeka Okongwu tip-in where multiple guys got it. And then I was kind of confused at what happened at the end there. The Hawks had the ball. Or no, first the Celtics had it with like 7 seconds to go, and Jason Tatum loses the basketball, turns it over. It goes back to the Hawks, who turn it right back over on the inbound, and it ends in a missed Jaylen Brown pull-up jumper, which, I mean, you got to live with that if you're on either side here. I mean, Jaylen Brown was on fire there, but his jump shot not always the best. So Hawks live with it and get the 1-point victory. Shout out to the Hawks for that victory. Now moving on to, let's go to the other crazy game from the Eastern Conference between the Miami Heat and the Detroit Pistons. And my goodness, this was unbelievable. The final score of this one, it went to overtime, 123-121 Pistons. But this was just unbelievable. The Pistons in this game, they really had control for the most part of this game. This was one of those games where for the whole game, they kind of had like a 7 to 13 point lead the whole game. And every time the Heat would try to make a run to come back, the Pistons would just, get some buckets of their own and it would be over. So once this trend started happening with all the games going on in the Eastern Conference, I was like, all right, I was focused on this Heat-Pistons game. Now I think the Pistons got this one. Now we're going to tune into some other games when it was like 12 with 6 minutes left. Then I check back on it and I see it's tied with 30 seconds left. I'm like, what the heck happened? And Tyler Hero happened, hitting 3 threes in like a minute to tie the game and force overtime. And then in overtime, it was back and forth between the Heat and the Pistons. Tyler Hero made a running shot with a second to go in regulation. Then the Pistons drew up a heck of a after timeout play, getting Jalen Duren an alley-oop dunk wide open. And it was such a good play, and it caught the Heat and Eric Spoelstra so off guard that he called a timeout that they didn't have, resulting in a technical foul, giving the Pistons a free throw. Malik Beasley hit it, and the Pistons somehow win this game. Nick, this kind of summarizes the Heat's start to the season. It's been ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty unbelievable when you put it like that. No Jimmy Butler in this one, obviously recent injury, so that kind of like is a saving grace, I guess you could, if you need an out if you're a Heat fan. But yeah, not a good look for Spo. He's 17 years in the game or something like that, and he owned up to it after the game, so it's all you can really ask for. But yeah, you said Tyler Hero was channeling his inner T-Mac in this one. Is that right?
Correct. I mean, 6 threes in the final 6 minutes after being down 12, 14 points to keep them in this game, really. I mean, he had finished the game with 40 points, hit 10 of 17 threes. And I'll tell you, every
Wow.
single one of those shots looked like they were going in. This jumper was looking smooth this game, and it was really needed because the Heat were not really able to get a lot of things going against this Pistons defense. The Pistons were doing a great job defensively. But that I thought that the Heat were definitely going to pull away with this victory after the game went into overtime, because I want to say there were like 2 or 3 good possessions where the Pistons were turning the ball over. I think Cade Cunningham finished the game with 7 turnovers. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I want to say a good 3 or 4 of them came in crunch time in like the final 10 minutes of the game, which is definitely not ideal. But credit to the Pistons for coming out with this win. I mean, they're 5-7 on the season, already 5 wins in. I'm going to go look back and see when they got their 5th win last year, because it was probably much further down the line in the season.
Yeah, it was probably in like February, for being honest. But
yeah, about January 24th was their 5th win of the season, and they got it on November 13th.
that is incredible. JV has them playing really well on both ends and getting a lot of production out of a lot of different guys. Malik Beasley had 21 off the bench in this one. Did you see what happened to Tim Hardaway Jr. in this game?
Yes, I did.
Dude, that was one of the more like gruesome basketball injuries I've ever seen.
That was one of the most scary injuries I've seen. If in case you guys haven't seen it, those of you listening, essentially got 2 hard hits to the head on the same play, same back-to-back plays. He got hit in the face trying to draw a charge or something, or defending, fell on the floor, got back up, tried to draw another charge somehow, and hit the back of his head on the floor, and had to be wheeled out on a wheelchair.
He took a knee to the jaw and then hit his head on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. A complete triple threat of injuries.
I mean, literally like your worst nightmare that could ever possibly happen on a court.
Luckily, we did get a report that it isn't as serious as it would look if you watch that play. From Chris Haynes saying that Tim Hardaway Jr. underwent a CAT scan and results were negative. He will be stitched up after taking elbow to the face and slamming the back of his head against the hardwood. Great news considering how scary it looked. So it shouldn't be that long of an injury, or that long of missed time, or at least we hope not for Tim Hardaway Jr. But the Pistons were able to win it for their guy there. I mean, this was another complete team effort here. They had 7 players in double figures scoring. A lot of guys had it going in this one.
Absolutely.
So yeah, man, Pistons getting the 2-point win in the Heat. Just, man, I just can't believe that Eric Spoelstra did that. I wanted this game to go into double overtime. I mean, he even said after the game, this felt like a game that kind of deserved it. The 2 teams going back and forth. Unfortunately, it goes the Pistons' way in the end here.
Pistons have a better record than the Heat.
Yeah, they do. They got a better record than a lot of teams right now. The Eastern Conference is so odd right now. We haven't been on to have a full podcast.
We can talk about 2 more Eastern Conference teams that have worse records than the Pistons. The Raptors and Bucks both played tonight.
Well, let's talk about them. The Bucks getting a win against the Raptors, 99-85, a low-scoring game in this one. Man, those 2 records just look horrible going into this game. But, much needed for the Bucks. Damian Lillard out for this one. He's in the concussion protocol. So he missed this one, but Bucks able to get the victory. Obviously way more talented than the Raptors. So this was one that they definitely needed to win, and they got it really on both ends of the floor. We finally saw, some defensive tenacity from the Bucks in this game, only allowing, Grady Dick went off with 32 points, but no one else really for the Raptors was able to get it going. I want to say only 1 or 2 other guys scored over 10 points or something like that. They did a really good job defensively, and this is a win that they desperately needed, not just for the NBA Cup, but we all know how much the Bucks need, these wins against these lower competition teams. So definitely big for the Bucks to get this win.
Yeah, they held Toronto to 34% from the field, and shout out to Grady Dick, because what an incredible performance in year 2 for him. going off for 32. That was awesome. But I thought it was interesting that the Bucks shot probably their season high 56 threes in this one. Now they only made 16 of them for like a 25.8% clip, which wasn't great. But yeah, they were just chucking the night. AJ Green had 14, Brook Lopez took 10, and that was almost as many as the Raptors shot as the whole team.
Yeah, definitely interesting, especially with Lillard out.
Right.
But I mean, with all the role players, you do kind of see it when we even kind of saw it from like the Cavs in the playoffs where they were missing like Donovan Mitchell. We suddenly started to see a lot more threes get up because you get more points up even if you take a lot of threes. Like if you get up 60 threes, even if you make them at a rough percentage, like the high 20s, that's still like 17, 18 threes getting up there. So it does help out the offense if you get up the volume of threes. So Bucks getting a much needed victory there. Now, a couple more Eastern Conference games. First, let's talk about the big one on national TV, as Nick said, highly anticipated between the Knicks and the 76ers. Joel Embiid's first game of the season here in this one, and it definitely looked like it. He definitely was rusty at the start of the game. In the end, the Knicks pull out the victory, 111-99. It was a much-needed victory for the Knicks here. They were having a rough stretch defensively, particularly. I think them going up against the Sixers with a rusty Embiid definitely helped that case there. Josh Hart had a triple-double. Karl-Anthony Towns was great again. OG Anunoby's shots were going down, and it was able to withstand kind of a slow start from Jalen Brunson. And defensively, they just looked a lot better in this game, the Knicks did.
Yeah, I only got to watch a little bit of the start of this one, but Towns had a hot start. He had 8 quick points, and Paul George had 11 in the first quarter as well. So those two guys were definitely hitting on all cylinders right from the get-go. But Joel was, I think, 2 for 11 in this one. He got pretty much all his points came from the line. I think 8 out of the 13 he scored were all from the line. And did he have the ball in his hands at like a critical? They lost like by a good margin though. It was like 15 they lost by.
What do you mean, the final score or when he was out?
Yeah, I know you just had it up.
Oh yeah, they lost by 12 in this game. And I mean, look, Joel Embiid. I mean, Stan Van Gundy was saying it a lot during the broadcast, and I would agree. Like you can't judge Embiid off of this one game or the Sixers by the one game. It's obviously going to take a lot of time for him to get back in the swing of things. I mean, we even saw, with his teammate Paul George look kind of rough the first couple of games. This was definitely his best games, since coming back. I mean, watching the game, he just looked like himself. He finished with 29 points, 10 rebounds, 7 of 11 from 3. He looked, like the smooth Paul George that we all, know and love to see play. So, I mean, it'll take time for Joel Embiid to come back. And, of course, Tyrese Maxey is still out. So it'll be a while until the whole big three plays. But, overall, I got to give a shout out to the rookie Jared McCain, who's been playing great over the last few games. Much needed offensive boost off the bench that he's given the Sixers during this stretch.
Do you think they should start him over Kyle Lowry?
Probably not at the point guard position. I think it's good to have a vet. I don't think a rookie point guard should be in there right now, especially in a stretch where the Sixers are, well, I guess maybe that's not a bad idea. I think that Jared McCain's more of a scorer, so he should be an off guard. But, the Sixers, besides when they don't have Tyrese Maxey, it's kind of just Kyle Lowry that can, run that position.
Well, that's what they did with Tyrese Maxey when Ben Simmons went. Or wasn't Tyrese Maxey thrown into this? Oh, it was with James Harden.
You are right, though. I mean, to start that season, they did throw Maxey in to be the starting point guard there. But I think that was kind of different because Maxey was going into that was Maxey's second season. This is only McCain's first. Like this was his, third week in the being in the NBA. So I think it'll take a few more games. But so far, him coming off the bench, the shot has looked nice. Had a couple nice finishes right at the rim. That was very impressive. Just excited to see what the Sixers can do when they are all fully healthy here. Still going to be a little bit, but again, much needed win for the New York Knicks. And shout out to Paul George. Just great to see him start to look like himself. Final Eastern Conference game here on the first night of the NBA Cup was the Charlotte Hornets and the Orlando Magic. This was one that I was looking forward to coming into the night, and it was great for the first quarter or two. It was really the LaMelo versus Jalen Suggs show. They were both going back and forth in the in the first quarter. LaMelo had like 23 points in the first half, but the difference in the second half was they shut him down and no one else could really get it going, excuse me. And that led to a 114-89 final score. And it was actually kind of crazy. It was like a 5-point Magic lead in the third quarter. Then on the Orlando Magic broadcast, they had Paolo Banchero on the broadcast, getting interviewed. I believe yesterday was his birthday. They even brought out like a birthday cake for him. And he was basically like a third analyst on the broadcast. And while he was on, the Magic extended the lead from 5 to like 24 while he was on the broadcast. So I guess they just need to have him on the broadcast every single game to, do well. But a huge win for the Magic. Interesting to note that so far this season, there are only 3 undefeated home teams remaining in the league: the Cavs, the Lakers in the West, and the Orlando Magic, still undefeated at home. We talked about, their rough start when Paolo first got injured, how it was on the road against some tough teams. Seems like Orlando being back at home has definitely been a saving grace for the Magic.
Yeah, for sure. The only thing I would add is no Trey Mann in this one. I think he really could have helped out off the bench. He's a huge scoring boost. And you were saying how like they locked up LaMelo in the second half. Putting Trey Mann out there next to him might have been helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Just have another scorer out there. But yeah, LaMelo in that third quarter. So yeah, 23 points in the first half. He was just looking great. So far this season, he has really played like a superstar type player with
I think he has 7 30-point games, which is tied for the most in the league.
Yeah, he's been incredible. He's been one of the best scorers in the league, and we all know what he can do with his
playmaking.
Probably
tied with Luka. I would either Luka or Jokic.
And it's one of those guys where like his 3-point shot just looks kind of funky. It just looks so casual, like he's just flinging it up there, but it goes in at a decent clip. So he was hot in the first half, but in that third quarter, 5 points on 2 of 9 shooting. Played the whole quarter. They got outscored by 12 points. And that really was the difference in the game there. So, big win for the Magic.
What are the odds that 2 teams score under 90 points in the NBA in 2024? Because we had the Hornets and wasn't
the Raptors.
Toronto.
The Raptors, yeah, below 90 points. Yeah,
3 because Milwaukee didn't. Oh well, I said 90, not
90. We had a couple teams below that 100-point mark there. But now let's move on to the Western Conference. And you know what? Let's just start with the big one. Let's start with the headline matchup of the day. Maybe one of the most anticipated games of the season. It was Klay Thompson's return to Golden State for the first time as a visitor. And my goodness, it was highly anticipated, and it lived up to the hype for sure. Even going back to pregame, where all the employees at the Chase Center for the Warriors all got their Captain Klay hats on and greeted Klay Thompson coming back to the arena, leading to a long-standing ovation, a tribute video for Klay Thompson, all he did for the Warriors. That was one of the best tributes and welcomes back for a player that I've ever seen. So if you have not seen it, I would definitely recommend checking it out because it's just crazy, man. It's still weird to see Klay not in a Warrior uniform. It was just great to have him back there. But as far as the game itself, it really had everything you could have asked for. Klay played well. Steph went crazy in the fourth quarter. And the Warriors won this one 120-117. But, yeah, man, this game just had it all. It had it all, really. Everyone played pretty well. All the stars really came out to play in this one.
Did you get emotional, Miles, watching the tribute?
Emotional? Sure. We could say that I got a little emotional. It's officially the end of an era, seeing that, come to fruition. It was just a super nice moment.
Well, the Warriors were still on top tonight. They played incredibly. From Looney to Kuminga to Podge to Draymond to Steph. Buddy Hield is incredible off the bench. He's a great I knew he was going to have a big year in that role. But they got this win without Kyle Anderson too. So, what I was going to say was Klay Thompson had 6 threes in his return. And I think Steph ended with 35 after he went night-night.
Yeah.
But Luka had a big night too. He had 32, hit a lot of tough shots, and I'm awed by Kyrie Irving this year.
Yeah, the way he's been playing has been ridiculous. I know we weren't able to recap that Dallas-Denver game where Kyrie had the 43 points and only missed 5 shots, but it is ridiculous what he can do with a basketball. I love watching Kyrie Irving play so much even now. Still even efficient today. Didn't take a whole lot of shots. 8 of 13 from the field in this one, 21 points. I mean, I'll keep saying it. I mean, this game just had everything you could have asked for. I mean, even right at the beginning, the Mavs ran a post play for Klay against Steph Curry and drew the foul. I mean, we saw, Steph talking trash to Klay a little bit. They were pointing to him. They were both having their fun moments during the game. It was just really awesome. And the Warriors, again, picking up another big victory. They continue to be one of the best teams in the NBA.
Yeah. With under 2 minutes left, Dallas was up 112 to 105. They had a 7-point lead. And Jason Kidd called a timeout after, I think, a made free throw by the Warriors or something like that. And he called a timeout when it was like an odd time to call a timeout. It might have been like 4 minutes left, not 2.
Yeah, it was like 4:17 to go. And out of the timeout, they turn the ball over, and then the Warriors start to, go on their run. Steph starts making his shots. My goodness, he scored the final. Wait, what? He scored the final 37. He scored the final 12 points of this game in 4 minutes. That's ridiculous. Crazy. Or actually 3 minutes. He scored the final 12 points of this game in 3 minutes when the Warriors needed it. And he was doing it from inside, outside. He was taking it to the rim, knocking down the step back threes. And the dagger was, the one over Daniel Gafford where he crossed him over to his right. Such a tough shot. Like fading away to your right as a right-handed shooter is such a tough shot. And he just buries it with ease. It's unbelievable.
I just thought it was interesting that timeout at that moment because I was like, this could be like a pivotal point where the Mavericks take a double-digit lead or it goes the other way. And it went the other way.
Yeah, and I think a part of that might have been, this whole fourth quarter, I believe, the Mavericks played Luka, Kyrie, and Klay for the whole fourth quarter. So maybe trying to get him a quick blow there with 4 minutes to go. That was probably his thinking. It just didn't really work out there, in the Mavericks' favor. But Golden State just continuing to rack up the wins. They've been super impressive. Kyrie, Klay, let's see. Kyrie and Luka, they only rested for 16 seconds in the fourth quarter. Klay played the entire period. Steph, all 12 of his fourth quarter points came in those final 3 minutes there. So just a great game.
Well, Gafford shouldn't even have been on the court. They need to play lively at the end.
Yeah, I thought both of them had decent games, but I thought Lively should have definitely been out there. His size was overpowering them a little bit in this game. Gafford got called for an offensive foul. He had a nice and one finish as well, but it's one of those things where I think Lively definitely should have been on the court there at the end. But regardless, great game between these two teams. Dallas now 5-6 on the season, coming off back-to-back close losses. What are your thoughts on the Mavericks now being a game under 500 through 11 games?
They need to play defense, man. It's always the same story with me and the Mavericks. Like, I watched Luka force a tough shot on Steph one possession just because he slides his feet and he stays in front, and it's a good defensive possession. But then one trip back down the court and one trip back down another defensive possession, he's watching guys just run right past him. And I just don't think they can compete for a top 4 seed if they're going to continue to do that.
Yeah, I'd probably agree. They need to be able to win, these tight games here. They need Luka to be the best player, the better player in the clutch in these situations.
Absolutely. And he doesn't look that great. I mean, he doesn't look like he's moving fluidly, and he's missing a lot of shots. He's not shooting as high of a clip as he has in the past.
Yeah, the shooting's been kind of off. Should mention, so after Steph makes the 3, Warriors go up 4. Quentin Grimes makes a crazy step-back 3, gets it back to 1, then Steph makes 2 free throws, which sets up a chance for the Mavericks to tie the game with a 3. They don't have a timeout remaining, so they just give it to Luka, and he basically goes ISO and just doesn't take a very good shot. Takes a step-back 3, misses it all. I just wish in those situations they could try to run a play. I don't know if he was expecting to get fouled there. But I don't know. I just wish that in those situations, it isn't just a Luka bailout step back three in
Well,
a
how do you
year
feel
where like we
Kyrie
said, he's
Irving?
not shooting. Right. I mean, it was Kyrie's turn to do it in the Denver game, and he missed it, even though he was on fire. I don't know. I guess Luka had more points in this game, so they just went to him. It's one of those things I don't know how to really figure out who should take the final shot in that moment. I wish they got Klay a look, considering he was knocking down his threes in this game. But in the end, we got a great game between these two. The Warriors continue to play well. I believe now they're now 5-1 in their last 6 games with some impressive wins in there. Obviously, this Dallas victory, going on the road to beat Houston without Steph Curry in that one, Boston and OKC, all huge wins. Of course, the one lost, that blowout loss to Cleveland. But, all their wins have been extremely impressive, and they continue to be one of the big surprises in the NBA and in the Western Conference.
Yes, sir.
Now we could go to, I guess, one of the other surprises in the Western Conference, the Phoenix Suns, taking down the Utah Jazz 120-112. First game, I believe, second game without Kevin Durant in the lineup. But the Suns able to come away with the win. Devin Booker, Bradley Beal doing their thing against the Jazz. Not really a whole lot that I've got to say about this one. When it's just nice for the Suns that when Kevin Durant goes down, you could still have these 2 all-star caliber guards just really pick up the slack.
Yeah, I got to watch the Suns before Durant went down when they were on national TV versus Dallas, and man, the Suns' passing is something to marvel at. Their offense is ridiculously good, and I knew it back when they made the trade to get Beal there. Like when they throw those 3 guys out there, they're really hard to guard. But they got Tyus Jones in there now, and Royce O'Neal's really got some continuity going with them, so they're just fun to watch passing the ball.
That Mike Budenholzer offense, I mean, that's what he brings. That's what he brings to a team. So he's definitely been having an influence on that team. So good win for the Suns there against the Jazz. And then the final game of the night was the Portland Trail Blazers taking down the Minnesota Timberwolves. Another surprising upset, 122-108. And this was really a Robert Williams game. It had been a while since he had played until a couple games ago, but had a really good all-around game, 19 points, 9 boards, 3 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks, was doing it all on both ends, and they just got some great performances across the board. Scoot Henderson looked good. He made a crazy, ridiculous circus left. That'll be one of the top plays of the night. And just a really good response for this Portland Trailblazer team coming off of, I don't know if it was their last game, but they had a recent game where they lost by 46 points to a Ja Morant-less Grizzlies team. It was horrible. Chauncey Billups after the game was saying that they were soft. It was terrible. So it's good to see them come back and respond with this type of victory. Another big team performance. They get 7 guys in double figures, led by Jeremy Grant with 21, Robert Williams with the 19. Just all across the board, they all played very well this game.
Yeah, Anthony Simons went down in the first couple minutes of the first quarter in this one, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it always seems like they've got some sort of injuries. They didn't have DeAndre Ayton in this one. Shaden Sharp. Tamati Kamara was balling. Shaden Sharp playing well. Minnesota losing this game. Minnesota, it's just got to be kind of frustrating here. They had a kind of an iffy start to the season. It was kind of going up a little bit with their last few wins and then losing to Portland on the road here. It's just kind of perplexing in this game. They didn't really shoot the ball the best here, but it really was the turnovers that was the difference in this game. They had 21 turnovers. 4 players had 4 turnovers in this game. So this was just across the board, a whole bunch of turnovers. The Blazers had 14 steals, and I could probably find the points off turnovers. Blazers probably killed them in that category. So yeah, just a good team win for the Blazers, and just good to see them respond after such a beating like that. Because for a team like the Blazers, you see all the time where they just don't really respond well, and after getting blown out like that in an NBA Cup situation, where in their group, I believe they're a team that no one thinks they're going to come out of that group. They're in a pretty stacked group, and it's to steal a win from the Timberwolves. That's definitely impressive.
Yeah, Chauncey Billups resume builder.
Chauncey Billups resume builder. I also shout out to the Portland Trailblazers court. I think they have one of the better courts with the like roses all around the court. A throwback to the Rose Garden there, back in the old Portland Jail Blazers and Portland Trailblazer days back in the 90s. So now let's get into the player of the night. There were certainly a whole lot of candidates for this one with a whole lot of great performances. We were thinking about giving it maybe to Tyler Hero in this game with his 10 threes, but because they lost the game, we couldn't give it to him. So Eric Spoelstra, you cost Tyler Hero player of the night. So, you should definitely think about that going into the next game. But the actual MVP of the night, Steph Curry, for his incredible clutch performance against Dallas. It really is crazy. And he does the like night celebration. And it blows my mind how every single time he does the night celebration, I mean, the game's always over. I don't know if we'll ever see a game where he does the celebration and then they blow the lead. That's just always like that officially seals the deal.
Yeah, he did it with 28.5 on the clock tonight. We'll have to keep track of that going forward.
Yeah, especially if this game went to overtime too, because that's the Mavericks had a chance. It was pretty early for Steph to really do it here, and it's still a close game. Before we get out of here, like we always do on the recaps, let's take a look at tonight's game action. First, the League Pass schedule. 9 games on the League Pass schedule. And some decent games going on here tonight. Pacers-Magic, always a fun matchup between those two teams. Cavs looking for win number 13 in a row in Philly against the Sixers. They should get that. Joel Embiid and Paul George, I'd be surprised. Joel Embiid's definitely not playing. I'd be shocked if Paul George played in the second night of a back-to-back. Phoenix, Sacramento at 10 p.m. That should be a very, very good game. But Nick, is there anything that kind of stands out to you from this League Pass action?
I know what games Jackson is watching. Aside from the Rockets Clippers, because he's a Rockets fan, he's definitely gonna be watching that trash good ball Wizards Spurs game.
Oh, no question about it. He's totally gonna watch that Wizards Spurs game. And
honestly, the one that stands out to me though is the Bucks Pistons, because they're both on a back-to-back and they both need wins, and the Bucks should win that game, but the Pistons got a huge win today, so.
Yeah, the Pistons have been feisty. They could totally do it. Heck, maybe the Nets. The Nets have been stealing wins from good teams. They take the Celtics on the second night of a back-to-back. And even Clippers-Rockets, that could definitely be a close game as well. Bulls-Knicks, we'll see what type of pace that game is played at between like the fastest-paced team in the Bulls and one of the slower-paced teams in the Knicks. Now the national games first at 7:30. The injury-riddled Pelicans visiting OKC to take on the Thunder. Couple teams without really great centers. Although shout out to Yves Missi. He's been playing very well for the Pelicans. But the Thunder without their top 3 centers after Chet Holmgren went down with a, crazy injury on Friday. Hope he gets better soon. And then the late game, the nightcap, the Memphis Grizzlies taking on the Lakers. So that should definitely be a fun one. The Lakers looking to continue their great home start to the season. Still haven't lost a home game. Grizzlies just killed the Lakers in a game last week in Memphis. So the Lakers definitely looking for their revenge here. Nick, you got anything else before we get out of here?
No, sir. Had a great no.
Well, guys, thank you so much for watching the recap. Leave a comment with your thoughts on the first night of Emirates NBA Cup action. Excited for the rest of it. Of course, games will continue on Friday for the Cup, and games here tonight just went over them. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA content. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you in the next one.